That's what this is for. So I don't want to, I always come prepared, but I don't want to force a topic that isn't interesting to you. Although I think what I have to talk about is going to be interesting to you. And Zach, you can feel free to chime in with anything you want to add because you were at the first step of Bold yesterday also. And that is what I want to touch on today. So I will say that I was really, really um, excited, pleased with the content. So they did, I think I might have shared with you guys a few months ago, I went to step one down south to Bold, and it was a rewrite of Bold. It was, I should say, a revision of Bold, where it added in some new things, and it was definitely better than the original Bold. This one is a 100% throw out what they had and completely rewritten by Gary Keller himself. And the information and the what's going to come through the rest of the steps is going to be phenomenal. So when Bold comes to your area or closer to you, I am going to highly recommend, if at all possible, that you attend. At a very bare minimum, attend the first step that is free. There's no cost to the first step. For this go around, I will be attending step 2. The Bold coach has given me permission to sneak in there. Just because I have to go down there for something else, I can't attend every step of this one because it's a 3-hour drive one way, and it starts at 9 a.m. and I'd have to be in a hotel and everything every week. And so hopefully in January we'll have it here. So keep an eye out for it when it comes to you. I'm not a pusher of things, but I can already tell just by yesterday that this new Bold is going to help so many. And it's really going to help the people who don't like to make phone calls. It's really going to help because there is, if we're being real, there's a generation of people where phone calls isn't their jam, right? They do more texting, they do more social media, private messages, and that's okay. This is going to speak to that. Oh, Valerian, I'm so glad you're here because of what we talked about in boot camp and what I'm going to talk about today that's going to make you very happy. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Obviously, it was a 5-hour class. But I will be bringing from the first 2 steps, I will be bringing you really good points for the next several weeks because it was a 5.5-hour session. I only have an hour with you, but there's lots that we will be talking about over the next few weeks from the 2 sessions. Okay. Of course, it won't hit everything like being there in person. And you don't have the accountability that you have in Bold, but we're still going to bring you the information because it's going to be really phenomenal. So let me just get a feel, and I think I kind of know, but who here prefers to make phone calls when they talk to people? Let me put the question in context, okay? I'm not talking specifically about lead generation. I'm talking just in general when you have a conversation with a person who prefers a phone call. Okay. Who prefers to text? Who prefers a social media message? Who prefers email? Okay. So just kind of want to get it.
You didn't even, one of the options wasn't a face-to-face.
That's true. Who prefers face-to-face? Okay. But usually those conversations, I don't think there's anyone, no matter how you prefer to be communicated with, is against the face-to-face. Would that be fair to say? But it's those other forms of communication that get the ball rolling to get to the face-to-face, right? Even if you have a face-to-face meeting for coffee, that's not in the context of real estate, you still got to either make a phone call or send a text or something to set that appointment, right? So thank you for that, Zach. But my purpose of the question was that initial reach out. How's your preferred context? Okay. So one of the things that I am going to go through the six thoughts of about choices. There's so much that was covered. I wish I could cover it all with you today, and there won't be time, but overtime. Um, Life is by choice, right? As humans, we have choices. So we can choose how we're going to look at things, right? You've probably heard the bold law or the sentiment that change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. So every single day that we wake up, we have a choice. We have a choice to be happy, right? And one of the 10 new bold uh what are they called? They're not bold laws. What are they called them? Bold truths is happiness is a choice. And has anybody ever woke up on the wrong side of the bed, so to speak? You got woke up early, you got woke up by something, you're just in a bad mood. It just ruined your day. Anybody had that day? We probably all have. Think back to the last time that happened. And if after whatever it was that made you grumpy, that the initial reaction we can't really choose, right? That's a knee jerk. We don't have a choice in that matter. The initial reaction is what it is. But what we do immediately after that is a choice. Now we can choose to be unhappy all day because something upset us first thing in the morning, or we can choose to let that go, put it behind us, or find a different way to look at it and have a great rest of the day. Every day I tell my husband before he goes to work, have a great day. And his knee-jerk reaction still is, I'll try. And I'm like, what? Oh, I mean, I will. And I actually had a conversation with him last night about something because there's something happening in his world at work that he's not happy about. And he's determined it's going to be horrible. And he's telling me all the negative about it. And everything he said is true. But I told him I wished he was in bold with me today because I told him if you keep thinking that way, it's going to be bad. You're not going to like it. You're going to hate your job and things are going to be horrible. So, how can you look at it where it isn't? Where's the positive in it? And there are positives. But he's a person who goes negative first. And he's also a person who edits this video. So I'm sorry, honey, but I need to make a point because he's also somebody who can think about things and think about the way he changes, but it takes a minute, right? So what's really important, one thing that was shared with me yesterday by somebody I was sitting next to was her alarm had went off, or no, her alarm was set to go off at a certain time. And she got woke up before her alarm to his dog licking his paws, her dog licking his paws, which annoyed her. She doesn't like that sound. Most of us don't. But she said, you know what? As after I initially was irritated, I realized my dog is 13 years old. I probably won't have him very much longer, 2 years at most, if not less. So I just decided to be thankful that I woke up to hear him licking his paws. Context matters. Choices matter. So therefore, she was able to get up and have a great day. And she did have a great day. And she's a positive person in general. And that's why. So every day we have choices. And there's a part in here, I'm going to go through each one of these with you. 6 thoughts about choices. And I'm not just talking to you about like life coaching stuff, right? But these choices do change how we make choices in our business. The things that we choose to be in our daily life also are choices in our business and help the choices we make in our business, right? So number one, the choices define us. So the choices we make every day define our lives and determine our destiny. We can make good choices or bad choices. If somebody chooses to go rob a bank, they've probably made a really bad choice and are going to spend the rest of their life in prison. That's a bad choice. I don't think any of us are going to do that, right? But you see, you get the point. A person's given a choice between two things. One thing leads to a good outcome, one thing leads to a negative outcome. Choices are a matter of responsibility. We make hundreds of choices every day, whether consciously or not. So knowing which ones matter and consciously making them paves the way to our outcomes. Right? We get up every day, and they used the example yesterday. If we're putting on shoes with laces, we tie our shoes. It's a choice to tie our shoes, right? But yet we don't realize it. We just do it because we know we need to tie our shoes or we're going to trip or our shoes are going to fall off. So that's an unconscious choice, probably for most of us. We drive our cars, we get to our destinations, but yet there are choices that we have to be very conscious of that we make. Choices, the third one here, choices are difficult. Choice is the purest expression of free will, but will always represent sacrifice. Right? So, do we choose to do the things we know we need to do? We know we need to say yes to some things in order to move our business forward or our lives forward, which means we're going to have to say no to some things. So every time we say yes, are we saying yes to the right things and no to the right things? The fourth one is choices are empowering. Making a conscious choice to do something is the first step toward growth and the real authentic you. The fifth one, choices are never a vacuum. Our choices not only change our lives, but also the lives of others. So, do the choices we make negatively or positively impact those around us, those that are most important to us? And then the sixth one is choices are inevitable. Choosing not to do something is choice. Life itself is simply a series of choices strung together over a lifetime. And one of the notes I made here is we are choices and our choices are us. Right? So when we think about, and this is a really good thing to talk about before our business planning clinic a week from Saturday, because you're going to be tasked with creating your goal for 2025 and thinking about your vision. So those that are here now, be thinking about that before we get to the business planning clinic on the 19th. Right? What is your goal? Your goal is a choice. Is that goal going to enhance your life, your business? That goal can be multiple goals. It could be a personal goal and a business goal, because by achieving the personal goal, your business goal will happen easier. I personally have a couple different goals, knowing that one will enhance the other. So so our life literally is our choice. Anyone can make a choice, and the best lives are lived through the best choices. Okay, so do we need to make different choices, better choices? Right? So, in the context of your business, think about the choices that you're making. And what could you choose to do today to move your business forward? That's actually a question for you guys.
Have conversation practice every day.
Yeah. Conversation practice leads to what? What does conversation practice help you?
Gain confidence.
Confidence. And if you have confidence, what are you going to do more of?
Call people, talk to
Yeah,
people.
you're gonna have more conversations.
Yeah.
More conversations is going to lead to what?
More appointments.
More
Appointment.
leads.
Yeah. Which is all going to lead to the end goal of a paycheck, right? So think about your own business and the choices, and I'm not going to call anybody out or have anybody say anything unless you want to share or volunteer. But think about the choices that you've been making daily, weekly, monthly, this past year. Some of you have been with us long enough to have done last year's business plan. Are you anywhere near your goal? Have the choices you've been making moved you closer to that goal? Or have you been choosing to do other things? Right? Again, I'm not wanting you guys to answer that right now, but I do want you to think about that. So
Jodi,
authorship, go ahead.
can I chime in a little bit? And then just based on I went to this meeting yesterday, so I've got some of the notes that Jodi is reading from as well. My dog may pop in here because he's sitting right at my feet. Okay, guys.
We're an animal friendly group here.
Um, so just perspective, and again, Jodi, you could correct this or others. When I sat there and I heard him talk about life by choices or life is about choice, I go, that's a no duh statement to me. It's like, well, of course. And I'm 60 and I'm at where I'm at in my life because of good choices and bad choices I've made, as you've alluded to, Jodi. But as I sat in it in the conference and listened and considered and even thought more, I think the the profoundness of the statement, though it's very simple, and we've probably most of us have heard it many times. That's not a new revelation for us. You guys we're all here because we're making choices. We're we're making a choice to a new career or start a career or whatever it is, coaching. But I was challenged afresh to really consider choices and the power of choices. One thing that I took away, and I'm going to say it a different way than I heard it, but when you pick up one end of the stick, you're also picking up the other end, meaning I can't pick up the other end. So if I choose A, I can't choose B. So if I make a choice, it's going to eliminate other choices. So I think it's worthwhile. And again, I can't do it the way that, as Jodi, you've done it, or the speaker did it, to really consider the power of our choices, how they empower us. And we're all people who make the choices. We're people of action. But is there potential for even being more intentional about our choices to be even more productive, more action oriented? That was my takeaway from it. I was there yesterday and I drove 2 hours each way, or nearly 2 hour and a half to 2 hours, because it was a choice. But then I get there and I go, oh, okay, there's more that I could glean from it. So I'm kind of piggybacking, and I hope it doesn't sound redundant, but that was some of my takeaway.
I love that you shared that, and thank you for that, Zach. And you're absolutely right. This isn't an epiphany that life is about choices. We make choices in life, right? That's a given. But do we take that for granted? Do we give enough thought to the choices we make and how they affect our life, our business, our family, our friends, our happiness, which we'll talk about, and how happiness is a choice? Right? That's the first new bold truth. There's 10 bold truths, and happiness is the first one. And I think that we particularly when you pull this into a business context, we make choices all the time, if we're honest, that don't move our business forward. And we've got to really think about that if we really want to reach our goals. Now, if you're just in this as a hobby and it doesn't matter, well, that's a choice too, and that's not a wrong choice. But you have to evaluate. And this time of year is the time of year that we really need to evaluate that. And one other thought on this before we get into the bold truths is, I love, how do you make the choices, right? By owning the choices, you're the author. You're the author of your life. Authorship is ownership. And I loved that the question was asked, if you were to pick up your autobiography right now, if it was on a bookshelf, who wrote it? Who's holding the pen to your biography? What does it read like? Did you write it because you made choices and you took control? Or did other people write it because you let them take control? You didn't choose to own your own life. I thought that was very poignant, right? Is our life our life? Are we letting our choices, other people's choices, dictate what we do? Now, that doesn't mean we don't listen to reason. That doesn't mean we don't listen to suggestions, of course. But who's the author of your book? What does your autobiography say right now, and who wrote it? And it's not too late to take the pen back. It's your choice to finish the book. So the first bold truth, happiness is a choice. And I really loved this one because I'm just going to read from the material. It says, above all else, we should live a happy life. Life itself is a gift, and to do nothing other than be happy is a waste of this gift. Let's be clear. Happiness is an emotion that has 3 dimensions. 1, how you feel about any circumstance. You guys all know I found out a few months ago I'm going to be a grandma. That made me happy, right? 2, how you feel over time. Circumstances can lead you to feel happier, right? But 3, how you feel about your life. Can I still be a happy person if I never had a grandchild? Of course I can, right? So they used the example yesterday, and I thought this was a great example, and we've used others similar to it. We know that the people on the East Coast right now, especially the southern part of the East Coast, are going through some really bad times. Many have lost their homes, lives, their belongings. Their lives have been turned upside down. Does that mean they're not happy? They're not going through a happy thing. They are not happy about what's happening, because we're not going to be happy about everything all the time. But that doesn't mean they can't be happy in their life. That doesn't mean they can't make the best of the circumstances and turn things around. And I have seen so many people, I know people on the East Coast who have been through these storms, who have had to evacuate. Other friends a little farther north who have taken in evacuees. I checked on some friends this morning. They sent me a picture. They're doing great. That made me happy, right? But I have seen so many people who have lost things. They're in the trenches helping other people who have lost things. They're still happy people going through a terrible tragedy. So we've all had bad things happen. We've all had things that make us sad, unhappy. But it doesn't mean we can't still live a happy life. right? So a life you can be happy with at the end will be a life of no regrets. How you simply feel throughout your life is a choice you make, a gift you give yourself. It's easy to be happy when things are going great. It's a true test to be happy when things happen that you are clearly unhappy about. And that will happen many times during a full life. Please realize that what can be true and should be true is that even when you are exceedingly unhappy about something that's happened, you can still be a happy person. It's just a position you take about the gift of life you've been given. Choose to be happy. Okay. There are 9 other bold truths, and we're going to go through some more of them next week. There are 38 bold laws, most of which are new. There's a few returning ones, but most of them are new. Or there's 3 or 4 that are the same or worded slightly different. The one I want to point out, I actually shared yesterday because of the time of year that it is the 5th one. It's fail to plan equals planning to fail. So if at all possible, please be present on the 19th. If you haven't registered already, an email went out Monday. Another one will go out again next week to register for our business planning clinic. You need a plan for your business. And so let's make sure you're there so you can create a proper business plan. We're going to be talking a lot about that over the next several weeks. Remember, failing to plan is planning to fail. Not having a target isn't going to get you anywhere, right? It's like saying, I want to get in the car and drive to a destination, but you don't have a map. You don't know where you're going. You don't have gas in your car. Not going to get you anywhere. Okay. So one of the other things that I want to touch on today, before we get too far, is I'm going to skip to some of the things that they talked about with our database and social media and texting. Now, on Monday, during our weekly workshop, we're going to talk about social media and using social media to a high level in our business. That I actually had already planned to do from something else where I learned some amazing social media tips. And lo and behold, we got some other great ones from Bold. Bold did not ever touch on social media in the past, but they realized that's the wave of the future. That's what's really getting a lot of people, a lot of business, if it's used purposefully. It's not just having a Facebook page or an Instagram account and posting things once in a while willy-nilly. It has to be done purposefully. Okay. So, what I want to go through is the like model. And there's a lot more to cover about this, but I just want to touch on the like model for right now. And it's not about liking the things, but because we like things on social media, they have a like model. The like model is the local lowdown. So, Keller Williams loves its acronyms. I is for information, K is for know me, E is for engage in conversation. So while the 10-10-5 we talk about is still very valid, you should still be doing that. When you're posting, we always talk about the 80-20 rule in posting social media, right? 80% personal, 20% business. This is really going to help you to do that because the local lowdown isn't about giving a market update for your local area. Now, you can sometimes. That would fall more in the informational category, right? The local lowdown is what's going on in your local area? What are people going to be interested in seeing? What are people going to pay attention to if you post it? Right? So is there a fair going on? Is there an animal rescue event? Is there a restaurant that's having a special? What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite menu item? It's about telling people about things happening locally. If a new restaurant opens, go eat there and give it a review. Right? These are things that people are going to be interested in that's going on in your area. Okay, that's the L. I is for information. Now, this is likely where you're going to post something about real estate, but make sure it's something of value. Could be the monthly market update. It could be the interest rates dropping, and what does that mean for your buyers? But on the flip side, what does that mean for the sellers? People always talk about the buyers with interest rates, but how is it going to help the sellers? Right? It could be anything of value. The know me. You guys have all heard when I talk about social media, if you don't let people get to know you, what's the point? Right? So you want to post things that help people get to know you. Now, of course, we're not encouraging anyone to post anything you're uncomfortable with. But what are your hobbies? What are your likes? If somebody were to only know you on social media, would they know what kind of person you are? Would they know what your hobbies are? Would they know anything about your family? And some people are private about that and some people aren't. It's okay. But what would they know about you? Would they know that you're a person who cares about taking care of your clients? And then the E is for engage in conversation. So wanting to posting things, this would be indirect or direct when you post things like depending on who it is, right? We haven't spoken in a while. Would you like to go for coffee and catch up? I remember the sample in the book is, I remember that you have great taste. Do you have any furniture store recommendations? But make it something that makes sense to your people. That's just an example. There's also the direct things. Do you know anyone looking to buy or sell real estate? Right? And it's okay to ask directly. Look at your social media as another form of your database, an extension of your database. So two things should be being done, and we've talked about this before. Those who are on social media should be in your command database. Those that are in your command database, you should have them on social media if they're on social media. And they talked about tagging clients in a way I hadn't really thought about in the past. So I wanted to share this with you. Now, we've all talked about the A, B, and C clients, right? And the A is those that are ready, willing, and able to buy. And the B is maybe not quite all three things, but within the next couple of months. And the C is they're just maybe, but it's really down the line. Okay. And that stands true. And we talk about all the different types of tags and things to put on people. But Ray talked about putting 4 additional tags on people and going through your entire database and tagging every single person with one of these 4. And it's C, B, A, and A+. It's not in the same context that we talk about our leads, though. It's in the context of our relationships with the people in our database. So he said, look at it this way. If you were to call a person in your database on the phone, what would show up on their phone? Would it be just your phone number? Because maybe you don't know them that well, so you're not in their phone? That would be a C relationship, a relationship that you need to work on building. Now, what if you call that person and your number or your name shows up? So you're probably in their phone, but if just your name showing up, so maybe that's a B relationship. Somebody you have a decent enough relationship, they have your contact information, you have theirs, you probably communicate once in a while. But what about when you make that call and your picture pops up on their phone? Right? That's that A relationship. You're in such a good relationship that they put your picture on their phone, or you've put it on theirs, however that works. They pop up different ways, right? Or you have the option to add it and they add it. So your name, your picture, and your phone number show up. That is an A relationship. That is somebody you have got a great relationship with. You want to continue building the relationship. But these are the people you can count on. These are the people you know are going to be the people to help you. So that direct conversation, do you know of anyone looking to buy or sell? We want to be having with our C people and our A and A plus people. And the reason they get to be an A plus is because not only do we have that great relationship with them, but they also refer people to us. That's an A plus. Doesn't matter if they need to do business. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're going to die in their house. Maybe they're never going to do real estate, right? But they refer people to us. That's an A plus. So we need to be having that conversation, whether it's a text, a social media message, or a phone call. Do you know of anyone looking to buy or sell real estate? With our C people and our A and A plus people. Right? Our B people are the ones that we're going to want to have those, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. You want to get coffee? And also our A people. Because what we want to do is move the needle forward with them, right? We want our C's to become B's and then become A's. But also how we talk to them and how we spend our time with them varies based on our relationship with them. Kind of a different thought about how to think about the people in our database. So I'm going to challenge you guys this week that as you're going through your database, you're making your calls, do it in the DTD4 way, however it works for you. Tag your database. C, B, A, and A plus based on relationship. And if you already have C, B, A, A plus because of the type of lead it is, make it a CREL for relationship, whatever works for you. But think about your database that way. Think about social media that way, because the whole point is to become purposeful. When we become purposeful, that's what takes us toward our goals.
Jodi.
Uh-huh.
So let me, I want to make two, I have a question and a comment.
Okay.
So on the like, you see how the E is engaging conversation. Another thing they said yesterday, just to share with the rest of you guys, is figure out how to get some dialogue going in the social media post. So you could go, hey, have you seen, I just read this book. Have you read it? Or you know, or like, I just went to Hamilton. I just saw the play Hamilton. Has anybody seen it? Did you like it? Or so you're trying to create conversation. So that was where, and surveys is a way to do that. You know, you could do a survey. So my question, Jodi, is I'm finding it difficult because so I have my command database, I have my Google database, okay, which I use, and I'm finding I'm inputting both, and it's just very time consuming. And now I have a social media database as well, two of them, you know, and not all Facebook or on Instagram, but I probably need to try to sync those up as best I can. But then you just said social media should be on our command list, but a lot of my social media group is all over the nation and beyond, you know. So I'm not sure why I would put it all on command. And is there a methodology that kind of doesn't have me doing so much redundancy? That's where I'm it just feels like it takes, and I'm not even close to pure or complete, or I don't have the tags, but just maintaining it. And I don't have thousands in my how do I, what are your suggestions on that, or other suggestions even?
Okay. Great question, and a couple thoughts on that. So, first of all, to your point about just because people are all over the place, should they be in command? The answer is yes. And the reason is because you still want to ask people for referrals, and you want to be able to refer people to them, or it doesn't matter where people live. If they know you and they trust you to find a trusted person for them, that's a great resource for referrals. We are going to talk more about referrals as time goes on, and I know they're going to cover that in bold as well. Referrals are a fabulous way to get business, and different ways. We talk about it in our boot camp: business to business, SOI, local and non-local, and also other agents. But all of those things have to be done purposefully. We don't just willy-nilly go into like for other agents, go into KW command and just start sending referral requests to everybody, right? We have to do everything purposefully. So yes, they should be in there. And you need to find a systematic way that works for you. I believe there's apps out there. Sync might be one of them. I don't know that answer for sure. You might ask in the WhatsApp group or even at your market center. There are apps out there that will help you sync your contacts so that you don't have to do it manually. But also, here's something that I would pay attention to. As you're doing every day, here's a simple way to do this. Every day, if you're doing your social media 10, 10, 5, ideally to 25 different people, those 25 people, see if they're in command. And if they're not, put them in. Because you're going to want to drip on them, right? Some of the conversations as we move forward is, would you like to know what's going on in your neighborhood? Would you like to receive something monthly or a couple of times a month about what's going on in your neighborhood? So don't worry about, oh my gosh, I have 500 friends, I got to get into command. Be systematic about it. Okay. And then beyond that, there's the DTD4 that's in the PC toolkit that every week is going to tell you a letter of the last name of people to reach out to that week, whether it be a call, a text, or a social media message. So if you're systematic about it, you can do it in a timely fashion. Using DTD4, you can have it done in 13 weeks. And using that, go through and tag your contacts with the type of relationships that they are. So don't get overwhelmed with the vastness of the task. Have a system around getting it done.
Does anybody else have any systems that they use that are working for them on these multiple platforms? Okay.
Some of the things that we're going to learn through Bold are going to help us create those systems, and some of the things I'm going to share with you on Monday that I need to review before I share them are going to help with that as well. So please be there on Monday for the social media weekly workshop. The last thing I do want to share about social media is this might surprise you, it might not. What do you think the number one social media platform is?
Instagram. Instagram.
Okay.
I would say
Actually,
it depends who you talk to. I feel like the younger generation would say TikTok and the older generation would say Facebook.
and that can be true, but here's real life statistics. Facebook has 3 billion active monthly users. 3 billion. Instagram has 2 billion active monthly users. TikTok has 1 billion active monthly users. So there's more people on Facebook than we give credit to. And true, you should use what you're comfortable with and what you're gonna, there's no right or wrong. That's just the statistics of how many people are on there. And when you have a purposeful system around social media, you can get in front of a lot of those people. And part of what I'm going to bring you on Monday comes from an agent who last year, I believe it was 138 referrals she received from social media because she uses it purposefully. So the number one is Google, number two is YouTube. As far as internet searches, all that type of thing. And YouTube is really becoming a thing. They're going to do a whole piece on Ken Pozak and how he, in 7 years, created a wildly successful billion-dollar volume yearly business in 7 years using YouTube. You can find his story on the MREA podcast. I've listened to it. I've heard him talk. And they're going to actually go over his model in the last step of bold. That's how good it is. They're writing it into bold. So it just depends on what you want to do, though. It doesn't mean everybody has to go out and become a YouTube star, but it depends on what your goals are. It depends on your style. There is a style for everyone, and there's no right or wrong. It's that you do it. And I really love the point that Ray made yesterday was because somebody chimed up. We had a 10-minute time where we had to call people and get contacts and get referrals. And they had a contest between the two sides of the room. And so everybody was yelling out every time somebody answered the phone, contact. And then if they got a referral, they were yelling that out and we were keeping track of it. Here's the thing. Somebody was vulnerable enough to share. And this is a very successful agent. She hated it. It made her uncomfortable. This is what made me think of what we talked about in boot camp the other day. She did it. She hated it. And so the coach asked her a little bit more, asked permission and talked a little more about that. And what it boiled down to was the way she communicates. There's a whole story around it, but the gist of it was the way she communicates with people is typically through text. And the way her systems work, she typically texts people, especially in transaction. And if people get a phone call from her, they think, what's wrong? Because of how she normally communicates with people. So she was having that experience calling those people during those 10 minutes. A lot of her people didn't answer, but they text her back and said, what's wrong? And nothing was wrong. And she told them that, right? But it's because of how she normally communicates. So the point was made, if texting's how you communicate, then text. And he told her the next time we do an exercise where we're saying make calls, you send text. Right? We're not going to do appointments over text. We're not going to do certain things over text. But to get there, texting's fine. Social media messages are fine. It's how do you communicate with your people? How do your people communicate with you? At the end of the day, if she sets 10 appointments sending texts, is anybody going to be upset? Of course not. And those checks at the end of the transaction cash the same as the ones that were made on the phone. So times are changing. Things are changing for some people, not for everyone. So the point is, it doesn't matter if you call, if you text, if you use social media, if you knock on the door, if you send an email, although email's not the best way to communicate because it's not looked at that much. That's a good way to stay top of mind though, right? But if you actually want to communicate with somebody, it doesn't matter. It matters that we do it. We also don't want to forget in this context that at some point we do need to talk on the phone or face to face, right? We're not going to set an appointment and do the appointment texting back and forth. So we do need to learn how to make that transition. But whatever's going to get you there, that's what you need to do. Valerian, does that make you feel happier after our boot camp discussion?
Yes, yes, it does.
Awesome. Okay, we're at 12:54. Any last thoughts, questions, comments? Hopefully there was some thought-provoking things. I'm going to be bringing you more of the bold truths as we go through the weeks. Next week, please be on time. We are having a special guest. We will be interviewing Casey DeAnda. She is an incredibly successful agent in Tulare County. She coached with us for a couple of years. She capped in 10 months her first year, in 4 months her second year. She is consistently in the top 10 solo agents in the market center, of which there are over 300 agents. And when she started, she has 3 girls, which she still does, that she's very actively involved with, as you can imagine the time that takes. She had another business that she was doing with her husband and still does, and she's kicking it in real estate. And she's going to share what she does and how she does it. So, those of you that are like, how do I do this? How do I juggle my schedule? How do I make time for it? She's going to share what's worked for her. Okay? All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.